Hey, this is John with FixYourDirtBike.com, and this is how to service the swing arm on your 1994 through 2001 Yamaha YZ125. Since you are removing the back part of your bike, make sure it's strapped down tightly. Remove the rear wheel and brake caliper, but do not disconnect the brake line. Just slide the caliper off the swing arm and hang it on the frame. This is a great time to service your shock linkage, so loosen the pivot bolt and connecting rod bolt now while you still have leverage. I have the video for the shock linkage walkthrough linked below. This is my quick point-by-point service video. If you would like to see the full, mostly unedited service done in somewhat real time, I have that video linked below. The only specialty tool you need is a bearing driver, which you can make out of grade 8 hardware and sockets. When you see what I'm using, you can easily make your own. Depending on the level of corrosion, you may need a torch and hammer like I did. The parts you will need are a new swingarm bearing kit, a lot of grease, and potentially a new swingarm pivot bolt. As usual, all parts and tools are linked in the description. Loosen and remove the swingarm pivot bolt nut. Mine needed to be hosed down with a PV blaster, but you might get lucky. Push the bolt into the frame, then pull the bolt out while jostling your swing arm. If your bolt is stuck, you will need to beat it with a sledgehammer and a punch, then buy a new bolt because yours is now mushroomed, but I wouldn't know anything about that. Drop your swing arm back and remove the shock linkage pivot bolt. If you ride your dirt bike in dirt, now is a good time to clean your swing arm. A simple degreaser and a stiff brush will work, but a pressure washer is where it's at. With your swing arm nice and clean, start disassembly by removing the chain guide. Before you proceed, mark your swing arm so you know which side is which. Trust me, it can get confusing down the line. To keep things organized, grab 2 shop towels and label them left and right, as the bearing pack is different on each side. I am working on my swing arm upside down, so I have my towels arranged Australian style. Start removing the collars, washers, seals, and thrust bearings and keep track of how they are arranged. If your bearings are corroded like mine, you might need to use a heat gun and picks to get the needles out. Whatever you end up using, just be careful not to damage the bearing bore. Wrap up the old parts and set them aside, you will need them later. Your swing arm bearings consist of 2 needle bearings with a gap in the middle. Assemble your bearing driver and drive the bearing race out of the swing arm in the same direction. So this is my DIY bearing driver I've been using for a long time. It's all grade 8 hardware and just random sockets that, whatever fits. But you'll have to push the bearing into the socket, and if you can't do that, or if you can't get a big enough socket, you can use all thread. But don't use all thread until you got it loose, because it's not nearly as strong as grade 8 hardware. Take your time, use whatever tools you need, just be careful. End of commentary. Mine weren't cooperating, so I had to get violent. Clean your swing arm bores and check for burrs, cracks, or deformations. You can clean and inspect the pivot bolt at the same time. Wrap your pivot bolt in sandpaper and hold it while you spin it with a drill. Start with as coarse as you need, working your way up to 600 grit and steel wool. This pivot bolt does not have a specified runout tolerance, so as you spin the bolt in your hand, if you feel vibration from the rotating bolt, it is bent and needs to be replaced. Smooth the swing arm bores using the same drill method, using sandpaper taped to a screwdriver handle. Finish up with a Dremel if you have one. Install your bearings one side at a time. Match your new parts with your old parts. The left and right bores have different stacks, with the left side having an adjustment shim and washer. Assemble your bearing driver and install your new bearings flush to the bore from each side. Fortunately, needle bearings are really thin because they're just holding a needle pack, so when you square them up, you have a bit of leeway. But you'll see me tap it with a hammer, and that's very, very shallow. So it can distort just a little bit to push it in, and then you'll see me use a really big washer to really get in flat. And then when you drive it to get it flush inside the bore, deep enough where it makes room for the seals and all the other rest of the pack, if you go too deep on one side, that's not an issue, but once you have one done and you go too deep on the other, you have to push them both out and start again. So just really take your time on this. There's no reason to rush. You might not even want to use power tools for this one. Commentary over. Your bearing set might come with a tube of grease, but I don't think it's enough. I suggest using a tube of EP moly grease. Start by greasing your needle bearings. Pack the bore with as much grease as possible. That's why the gap is there. Be careful when applying grease to the needles. The grease is sticky, so if you lift off the needles, they will come with you. So always drag your finger out of the bore. Grease every part as you install them. If your seals have a lip, pack the lip with grease and install the lip seal side in. With your bearing pack installed, wrap the ends in a towel. While your swing arm is off your bike, inspect the axle adjustment bolts and replace as necessary. Remove the towel wrap and install the chain guide. Grease your pivot bolt and set it inside the frame just enough that it won't fall out. Align your swing arm and install the pivot bolt. Grease and install the pivot bolt washer and nut. Torque the pivot bolt nut to 63 foot-pounds. Thank you for watching. If you would like to see the full unedited service done in real time from start to finish, I have a link below. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.